Future wife. If life has already written our names somewhere in the future, if one ordinary day our paths finally cross, then before that moment ever arrives, there is something I need you to hear. Not because I'm afraid you'll leave, but because I never want you to love a version of me that doesn't exist. The world has a strange way of turning people into stories. It takes a few moments of success, a few photographs, a few headlines, and suddenly everyone believes they know who you are. They see confidence and assume there was never fear. They see achievements and assume the journey was easy. They see someone standing on top of a mountain without ever asking how many times he almost gave up climbing it. Maybe one day you'll hear people describe me with words that sound larger than life. Visionary, genius, the richest man, the man who changed the future. But before those voices become louder than mine, I need you to hear my truth first, because when we finally meet, I don't want you searching for the man the world created. I want you to recognize the man who has been quietly becoming himself, long before anyone was watching. And that man, he's still learning, he's still growing, he's still making mistakes no one will ever hear about. If you choose to walk beside me one day, I don't want you to be surprised when you discover I'm not always the strongest person in the room. There will be evenings when I'll carry more questions than answers. There will be mornings when my mind wakes up before the sun because an idea refuses to let me sleep. Sometimes I'll seem quiet, not because I've stopped loving you, but because my mind is trying to solve problems that don't yet have names. I hope you never mistake silence for distance. Sometimes silence is simply where my dreams are being built, and if there are moments when I look exhausted, please don't assume I'm tired of us. Understand that I'm trying to build a future big enough for both of us. Because love, at least the way I understand it, isn't just about saying beautiful words. It's waking up one day and realizing I settled for less than I was capable of becoming. That fear has followed me for years. It pushes me, challenges me. Sometimes it refuses to let me rest. Most people believe ambition comes from wanting more money, more success, more recognition, but they're wrong. Real ambition comes from refusing to betray the potential God placed inside you. Every person is born carrying possibilities the world may never notice. Most people spend their lives protecting comfort. I want to spend mine protecting purpose. If we ever become husband and wife, you'll probably watch me chase ideas that seem impossible. People may laugh, some will call them unrealistic, others will say I'm wasting my time, but I hope you'll understand something they don't. Every impossible future first looked ridiculous to someone. Progress has always belonged to the people willing to believe before everyone else could see. Still, I don't want you to admire me because I dream big. I want you to admire the reason I refuse to stop dreaming, because none of it is about proving I'm better than anyone else. It's about proving that fear doesn't deserve the final decision. And I hope you'll live that way too. I don't want a woman who slowly forgets her own dreams because she falls in love with mine. That isn't love, that's surrender. I want to hear about your impossible ideas, your late night thoughts, your quiet prayers, your hidden talents, the parts of you that you've been too afraid to show the world. I don't want your life to begin the day you meet me. I hope it's already beautifully in motion. Because two complete souls create a healthier future than two people waiting for someone else to complete them. Future wife, can I tell you something I've never believed? I've never believed that love is supposed to rescue us. I think love is supposed to remind us who we were becoming before fear convinced us to stop. I don't want to save you, and I don't need you to save me. I want us to become the place where each other feels growth survives every disappointment. If I fail, I'll learn. If I fall, I'll stand again. If life humbles me, I'll thank it for the lesson, because every difficult season has shaped the strongest parts of who I am. I hope one day, when you see me at my lowest, you won't wonder whether I've changed. Instead, I hope you'll remember this promise. I don't quit on the future simply because today became difficult. And I hope you'll remind yourself of that promise whenever life becomes heavy for you too, because I already know something about you, even before we've met. You've survived battles no one applauded. You've smiled through days nobody understood. You've carried disappointments you rarely talk about. And somehow, you're still moving forward. That's the kind of strength I admire. Not loud confidence, quiet resilience. The kind that keeps believing after life gives every reason to stop. Maybe that's why I already feel connected to you. not because destiny guarantees we'll meet, but because I believe people who refuse to stop growing eventually recognize each other. Maybe we'll meet in a crowded room, maybe during an ordinary conversation, maybe on a day that feels completely insignificant, and neither of us will realize that our entire future quietly began in that single moment. Future wife, when that day comes, please don't fall in love with my success. Successes changes. Please don't fall in love with my reputation. Reputation changes too. Don't even fall in love with my confidence, because confidence has seasons. Instead, fall in love with the promises I'm making to you today. The promise that I'll keep choosing honesty over appearances. The promise that I'll never stop becoming a better man than I was yesterday. The promise that no matter how complicated life becomes, I'll never let pride become more important than our connection. Because the strongest relationships aren't built by two perfect people, they're built by two imperfect people. There is another truth you deserve to hear. It's a truth that has ended countless relationships before they ever had the chance to become extraordinary. And if you don't understand this part of me, you may mistake my greatest strength for my greatest weakness. Let me explain, future wife, before our story is ever written, before we build a home together, before we celebrate victories or survive heartbreak, there is one part of me I need you to understand, because if you misunderstand this part, you'll slowly begin to question everything. You'll wonder if I've changed. You'll wonder if I've stopped caring. You'll wonder if you're losing me. But the truth will be something completely different. You see, there will be seasons when my mind becomes quieter than my voice, not because my heart has become colder, but because my vision has become louder. The world often teaches us that love should look like constant attention, constant messages, constant reassurance, constant conversation, as if the more someone speaks, the more they love. I don't believe that's always true. Some of the deepest love I've ever imagined exists in moments where words are unnecessary, because love isn't measured by how often someone says, I love you. It's measured by everything they quietly sacrifice so those words remain true years later. Future wife, if one evening you find me sitting alone, looking out a window, lost in thought, please don't immediately assume I'm drifting away from you. Sometimes my mind travels somewhere my body hasn't reached yet. I'm thinking about tomorrow, about problems no one has solved, about futures no one else believes are possible, about responsibilities I chose long before success ever chose me. And sometimes, those responsibilities become heavy, much heavier than they appear from the outside. People celebrate achievements. They rarely see the invisible pressure that created them. They applaud the launch, but they never witness the sleepless nights. They admire the breakthrough, disappearing from love, disappearing from distraction, because every great dream demands uninterrupted focus. And I hope, when those seasons come, you won't see my focus as competition. I hope you'll recognize it as preparation. Preparation for a future we're trying to build together. Future wife, I know this won't always be easy. There may be nights when I'm physically beside you, but mentally chasing an idea that refuses to leave me alone. You'll notice my eyes become distant. You'll ask if everything is okay, and maybe all I'll be able to say is, I'm thinking. Please don't hear rejection inside those words. Hear trust. Because if I'm allowing you to see that version of me, the unfinished version, the uncertain version, then I'm showing you a part of myself the world rarely gets to meet. Most people only meet successful people after the battle is over. I'm asking you to love me while the battle is still happening. That requires something much deeper than admiration. It requires understanding. Future wife, can I tell you something I've learned? The people who only love your bright days usually disappear when your quiet days arrive. They love your confidence, but not your confusion. They celebrate your victories, but become uncomfortable watching you struggle. I don't want that kind of love. I want the kind that sits beside silence without demanding immediate explanations. The kind that understands healing isn't always loud. Thinking isn't always visible. Growth isn't always exciting. Sometimes growth looks like sitting alone, questioning everything you thought you knew, only to return stronger than before. If you can love someone during those invisible moments, you've discovered something very rare, because extraordinary relationships aren't tested during celebrations, they're tested during uncertainty. Future wife, there is another truth I don't want to hide from you. I carry expectations, not from the world. It isn't. Those days humble me. Those days remind me that success isn't permanent. Character must be rebuilt every single day. That's why I'll never ask you to admire perfection. Perfection has nowhere left to grow. I hope you'll admire consistency instead. The decision to keep improving, especially when improvement feels exhausting. There will be moments when I fail. Moments when an idea I've believed in for years suddenly collapses. Moments when I'll question whether I'm strong enough to keep going. In those moments, I won't need someone to remind me of my achievements. I'll need someone who reminds me who I am beneath them. Someone who quietly says, I still believe in you. Future wife, those 5 words could carry me through storms you may never fully understand, because belief has incredible power. The world usually believes after success. Real love believes before it. I hope you'll become the person who sees possibility before proof, and I promise, I'll become that person for you too. When you begin doubting yourself, I'll remind you of your courage. When fear convinces you to settle, I'll remind you of your purpose. When life whispers that you're not enough, I'll remind you of every battle you've already survived. That's what partners do. They protect each other's vision, especially during seasons when that vision becomes blurry. Future wife, please never compete with my purpose. Walk beside it. And I promise, I'll never compete with yours either. I don't want your dreams to become smaller because you love me. I want them to become bolder. I want to celebrate every victory you earn. I want to watch your confidence grow. I want to see your eyes light up when you're talking about something that makes your soul feel alive. Because if your world becomes smaller after meeting me, then I've failed as the man I promised to become. Real love should expand your life, not reduce it. It should give you more reasons to believe in yourself, not fewer. The strongest wife, one day, when life becomes busy, when responsibilities multiply, when deadlines become overwhelming, please remember this conversation. Remember that silence never automatically means distance. Sometimes, silence is simply where tomorrow is being created, and every dream worth building asks for seasons of complete focus. But there's one promise I need you to keep close to your heart, no matter how demanding my vision becomes, no matter how impossible the mission appears, no matter how many people are depending on me, I will never allow ambition to replace what matters most. Because building an extraordinary future means nothing if I lose the extraordinary woman I hoped would share it with me. Still, there is one thing even more important than understanding my silence. It's the one quality I believe determines whether a relationship survives decades or quietly falls apart after only a few years. Most people don't discover it until it's already too late. I want us to understand it long before we ever meet, because everything we build together will depend on this one truth. Future wife, before destiny ever gives us the chance to hold each other's hands, before we build a life that people may one day admire, there is something I hope you never sacrifice. Foster me. You'll never lose yourself just because you love me. I know the world calls it romantic when someone says, you are my whole world. It sounds beautiful, it sounds poetic, but if I'm honest, it also sounds dangerous. Because no human being was ever created to carry the weight of becoming someone else's entire world. One day, if you make me responsible for all your happiness, eventually I'll fail you. Not because I don't love you, but because I'm human, and if I ever expect you to become everything I need, I'll fail you too. Love becomes heavy when two people ask it to do what only purpose was designed to do. Future wife, I don't want you to wake up every morning asking what I need. I want you to wake up who believed she could become something extraordinary. Don't let marriage erase her. Help her grow. Because I don't want to marry someone who slowly disappears. I want to marry someone who keeps becoming more herself every year. If people meet you 10 years after our wedding, I don't want them to say, she gave up everything for him. I hope they say, she became even more incredible after meeting him. That would make me proud. Future wife, if your light becomes smaller because of my presence, then I have misunderstood love. Real love never steals someone's identity. It protects it. It encourages it. It gives it room to breathe. I don't want your voice to become quieter because mine is louder. I don't want your opinions to disappear because you respect mine. Challenge me. Question me. Teach me. Tell me when you think I'm wrong. Don't agree with me just because you love me. Agree because you truly believe. I don't want a relationship built on silent obedience. I want one built on honest conversations, because the woman I hope to marry isn't someone who simply follows beside me. She's someone whose wisdom makes me stop and think. Someone whose perspective helps me become a better man. Future wife, I hope you never become afraid of your own success. If one day you accomplish something greater than I ever imagined, I'll celebrate louder than anyone else. If people begin recognizing your name before mine, I'll still be cheering because your success doesn't threaten mine. Your victories become ours. The world teaches people to compete. I want our home to become the one place competition never enters. I don't want us counting achievements. I don't want us comparing salaries. I don't want us measuring who sacrificed more. Because love isn't mathematics, it's partnership. The strongest teams never ask, who's winning? They ask, how do we win together? Future wife, there will be seasons when you're stronger than me. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I hope you never apologize for it. Maybe you'll quietly cry without telling anyone. When that happens, I don't want you pretending you're okay just to protect me. Bring me your fears. Bring me your uncertainty. Bring me your broken days. Because love isn't proven by sharing only happiness. It's proven by trusting someone with the parts of you that nobody else gets to see. And I'll promise you the same. Future wife, there are parts of me the world will probably never understand. The cameras won't see them. The interviews won't mention them. The headlines won't write about them. They'll see confidence, but they won't see insecurity. They'll see success, but they won't see sacrifice. They'll see victories, but they won't see the nights I questioned whether I was capable of continuing. I hope you become the one person who sees all of it, not because I need someone to admire me, because I need one place where I never have to pretend. Imagine how peaceful that would be, to come home after carrying expectations all day and finally breathe, to know that one person loves the real version of you, not the public version, not the successful version, not the impressive version, just you, future wife. That's the home I dream about, not the house, not the city, not the view. People spend years building beautiful homes. Very few build emotional safety. I want ours to become the place where honesty never feels dangerous, where tears never feel embarrassing, where failure never feels final, where silence never creates fear, where success never creates distance, where both of us feel completely free to be imperfect, because perfection is exhausting, pretending is exhausting. Wearing masks every day eventually becomes unbearable. I don't want us living that way. I want us to remove every mask the moment we walk through our front door. Future wife, can I ask you for something? Never stop becoming curious about me, even after 10 years, even after 20, even after 50. Don't assume you've learned everything. And I promise, I'll stay curious about you too. I'll keep asking questions. I'll keep learning your fears, your hopes, your changing dreams. The woman I meet at 30 won't be the same woman at 40. Life will shape you. Motherhood might shape you. Loss may shape you. Success may shape you. And instead of saying, you've changed, I hope I'll say, tell me who you're becoming now. Because people don't stop loving each other because they change. They stop understanding each other because they stop learning each other. I never want that to happen to us. Future wife, I want us to keep introducing ourselves to each other for the rest of our lives. Again and again and again, because every new version of you deserves to be loved too. And every new version of me deserves the chance to be understood. But before any of that happens, before we celebrate dreams, before we survive difficult seasons, before we grow old together, there is one truth I still haven't told you. It's the truth that will decide whether our relationship becomes unbreakable or slowly breaks without either of us realizing it. And it begins with one simple word: trust. Future wife, there is something I've been wanting to tell you since the beginning of this message. It's the most important truth of all, because every beautiful relationship eventually arrives at a moment where love alone no longer feels enough. There will come a day when emotions become complicated, plans don't work, the future looks uncertain, dreams seem farther away than they did yesterday, and during those moments, the question won't be whether we love each other. The question will be, do we still trust each other? Love creates the beginning of a relationship. Trust decides whether it survives. Before we ever meet, I need you to understand something about me. I don't make decisions based on what feels comfortable today. I make them based on the future I'm trying to create tomorrow. Sometimes, the world can't see yet. I know that won't always be easy to understand. There may be moments when you'll ask yourself, why is he choosing the harder path? The answer will almost always be the same, because the easier path rarely builds an extraordinary life. Future wife, if I ever ask you to trust me, please know I'm not asking for blind faith. I'm asking you to look at my character, because words can sound convincing, promises can be beautiful, but character is what remains when life becomes difficult. Don't trust me because I speak confidently. Trust me because my actions continue matching my words. If one day they don't, challenge me, hold me accountable, remind me of the promises I'm making today, because I never want success to change the man you first believed in. Success as has changed many people. I pray it never changes me. Future wife, can I tell you something I've quietly learned? Most relationships don't end because of one terrible mistake. They slowly disappear through tiny lapses overnight. They don't. They usually fall apart one silent moment at a time. That's why I never want silence to become our hiding place. If something hurts you, tell me. If I've disappointed you, please don't carry it alone. If fear starts whispering lies into your heart, bring those fears to me before they grow into walls between us. I promise I'll do the same, because I'd rather face one uncomfortable conversation than spend years pretending everything is fine. Future wife, there will be seasons when life tests us, not because we've done something wrong, simply because every meaningful relationship is tested. Maybe we'll face financial pressure. Maybe people will misunderstand us. Maybe we'll lose something we worked years to build. Maybe we'll experience heartbreak we never expected. Life doesn't promise anyone an easy story. But I hope, when those storms arrive, we never stand on opposite sides of the problem. I hope we stand beside each other instead. You and me, against the future wife, there is something I admire more than intelligence, more than talent, more than beauty, loyalty. Not the kind that's blind, the kind that's built on truth, the kind that says, I'll stay while we solve this. Not, I'll stay only while life is easy. Real loyalty isn't tested during success, it's tested during uncertainty. Anyone can celebrate with you after you've won. Very few people are willing to believe in you while you're still struggling. That's the kind of woman I hope you are, and that's the kind of man I'm trying to become. Because commitment means very little. If it disappears the moment life becomes uncomfortable, future wife, please don't ever think I expect you to be fearless. I know you'll have moments of doubt. I know anxiety will sometimes visit your heart. I know there will be nights when the future feels impossible to understand. You'll ask yourself, are we going to be okay? And I hope during those moments, you remember these words. The future has never been built by people who could see every step. It has always been built by people willing to take the next one anyway. That's how I want us to live, not controlled by certainty, guides by purpose, because certainty is rare. Faith is a choice. Future wife, one day you'll probably see me fail, not a small failure, a painful one that makes headlines, one that gives critics another reason to laugh, one that makes the world question everything I'm trying to build. When that day comes, don't look at the headlines. Look at me. Watch what I do next. Do I blame everyone else? Or do I accept responsibility? Do I complain? Or do I begin rebuilding? Because failure has never revealed the end of someone's story. It reveals the strength of their character. And I promise you this, if I fall, I'll rise wiser. If I lose, I'll learn faster. If life humbles me, I'll allow humility to shape me instead of bitterness. I don't fear failure. I fear becoming someone who is uncomfortable, especially then. If I make a mistake, I'll admit it. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you. If I'm struggling, I'll let you see it. Because vulnerability isn't weakness, it's trust in its purest form. The strongest man isn't the one who hides every emotion. The strongest man is the one who feels safe enough to tell the woman he loves. Today was harder than I expected. I hope you feel that same freedom with me. No pretending, no masks, no emotional performances. Just two imperfect people, choosing honesty every single day. Future wife, I don't know where you are today. Maybe you're reading this years before we meet. Maybe you're building your own dreams. Maybe you've already been disappointed by people who made promises they never intended to keep. Maybe trust feels difficult for you now. If that's true, I understand. Trust isn't rebuilt through speeches. it's rebuilt through consistency. One action, one promise, one ordinary day at a time. And if destiny ever allows our lives to become one, that's exactly how I'll love you. Not with one grand romantic moment, but through thousands of ordinary decisions that quietly say, I'm still here, I'm still choosing you, I'm still protecting what we're building. Because real commitment isn't measured on the wedding day, it's measured on every ordinary day that follows. But before we take another step toward that future, there's something even more personal I need to confess. It's the one fear I rarely speak about, the fear hidden behind every dream, every sacrifice, and every promise I've made to you. Before we meet, you deserve to know that truth too. Future wife, before this message goes any further, there is one part of my heart I have never wanted the world to misunderstand. Maybe you've noticed something already. Everything I've shared with you has sounded confident. Purpose, discipline, growth, vision, strength. But confidence has a shadow that very few people ever talk about. I don't want you to mistake it for a lack of love. Future wife, I am not afraid of working harder than everyone else. I'm not afraid of impossible goals. I'm not afraid of criticism. I've learned that if you're building something meaningful, people will misunderstand you long before they understand you. I've accepted that. But there is one thing that still scares me: losing the people who matter while trying to build a future that was supposed to protect them. That fear follows me more than anyone realizes, because sometimes the people who dream the biggest accidentally forget to look beside them. They become so focused on tomorrow that they slowly stop noticing today. I never want that to become my story. If one day we're married and you ever begin feeling invisible, please don't stay silent. Please don't convince yourself that I'll eventually notice. Come to me. Wake me up if you have to, because I never want my purpose to become an excuse for neglecting yours. Future wife, the world celebrates people who build companies, who change industries, who accomplish extraordinary things. But very few people ask an even more important question: did they protect the people they loved while they were building it? Because success means very little if the person waiting for you at home slowly feels forgotten. I've seen people spend decades chasing greatness, only to arrive at the finish line completely alone. That isn't success. That's regret wearing expensive clothes. I don't want that life. If I have to choose between becoming admired by the world or remaining deeply connected to the woman I love, I already know which one matters more. Because titles disappear, money changes, recognition fades, but the memory of how you made someone feel, that stays with them forever. Future wife, promise me something. If you ever notice me becoming emotionally distant, don't quietly accept it. Don't tell yourself, he's probably just busy. Maybe I am. Because sometimes even good men become distracted, not intentionally, not because they stopped loving, simply because responsibility became louder than connection. And I hope you'll love me enough to bring me back. I'll do the same for you, because I don't want us slowly drifting apart while pretending everything is okay. Future wife, can I confess something else? I don't need someone who constantly tells me I'm strong. The world already expects strength from me. What I secretly hope for is one place where I don't have to be strong all the time, one place where I can admit, I'm tired, I don't know, I'm afraid, without feeling like I've disappointed anyone. Strength is beautiful, but carrying it every single day, without ever putting it down, eventually becomes exhausting. Maybe that's something very few people understand. They admire resilience, but they rarely ask what resilience costs. Sometimes it costs sleep. Sometimes it costs peace. Sometimes it costs silent tears no one will ever witness. Future wife, if you ever see those moments, please don't try to fix me immediately. Just stay. Sit beside me. Hold my hand. Sometimes presence heals more than advice ever could. Sometimes love sounds less like solutions and more like, I'm here. Those words carry incredible power. Future wife, one day, the world might see me smiling while carrying burdens they know nothing about. You'll probably be the only person who notices the difference. You'll hear the pause in my voice. You'll recognize the exhaustion hiding behind determination. You'll see the pressure behind my eyes, not because I tell you, because you'll know me that deeply. That's the kind of connection I dream about. Not perfect understanding, intentional understanding, the kind that pays attention, the kind that notices the little things, the kind that asks, You've been unusually quiet today. What's really on your mind? Not because you're suspicious, because you care. Future wife, I hope we never become so familiar. I never want us assuming we'll always have tomorrow. I want us appreciating ordinary moments while they're still happening. The morning coffee, the random conversations, the laughter that doesn't make sense to anyone else, the quiet evenings, the unexpected hugs. Those moments look ordinary. Until one day, they're the memories you miss the most. That's why I never want to become too busy to notice them, because life isn't built only through extraordinary achievements. It's built through ordinary moments repeated with extraordinary love. Future wife, maybe this sounds strange coming from someone who spends so much time thinking about the future, but the older I become, the more I realize the future is created by how faithfully we live today, not tomorrow, today, how we speak, how we forgive, how we listen, how we choose each other. Even when no one is watching, character isn't revealed during speeches. It's revealed during ordinary Tuesdays, during difficult Mondays, during quiet Friday evenings, when nobody applauds, when nobody posts about it, when nobody even notices. That's where love becomes real. Future wife, there is something else I need you to know before we finally meet. I don't expect you to always understand my decisions. Some of them may seem impossible. Some may feel risky. Some may even scare you. But I hope you'll always know one thing. Every decision I make will begin with one question. Does this create a better future for us? Not just for me, for us. Because the day I stop thinking in terms of us is the day I've forgotten what truly matters. And if you ever notice that happening, please remind me who I promised to become. Remind me of this conversation. Remind me that no achievement is worth losing the woman who believed in me before the world did. Future wife, we've talked about dreams. We've talked about purpose. We've talked about trust. We've talked about fear. But there is can't replace. I don't want us to learn it that way. So before we ever meet, there is one more truth your heart deserves. To future wife, there is one truth I have learned that almost no one talks about until it's too late. Relationships don't usually end because love disappears. They end because communication quietly does. It never happens all at once. It happens little by little. One conversation postponed, one feeling hidden, one disappointment left unspoken, one apology that never comes, one misunderstanding that both people expect the other to fix. Then one day, two people who once knew each other better than anyone else wake up feeling like strangers. I never want that to become our story. Before we ever meet, I want to make you a promise. No matter how busy life becomes, no matter how demanding my work is, no matter how many responsibilities are waiting for me, I never want our conversations to become optional. Because the strongest relationships are not built by perfect compatibility. They're built by people who never stop trying to understand each other. Future wife, if there is one thing I hope we protect more carefully than anything else, it's our ability to speak honestly. Not perfectly, honestly. If something is hurting your heart, please tell me. Don't smile just to protect my feelings. Don't pretend everything is okay because you're afraid of becoming a burden. Your emotions will never be a burden to me. Losing your trust, that would be. I don't want to hear only your happy thoughts. I want the uncomfortable ones too. The confusing ones. The ones you think might upset me, especially those. Because hidden emotions never disappear. They simply become heavier. And eventually, they become walls. Future wife, I'll make the same promise to you. If I'm overwhelmed, I'll tell you. If I'm afraid, I'll tell you. If I'm carrying pressure that the world cannot see, I won't leave you guessing. You deserve honesty, not silence. Assume you're losing interest. I become quieter. You assume I've stopped caring. Neither of us speaks. And suddenly, we're fighting battles that never actually existed. That's why I believe communication is an act of love. Every honest conversation says, I care too much about us to let confusion grow. Future wife, can I ask something of you? If we ever disagree, please don't see me as your opponent. See me as your partner who simply sees the situation differently. The goal should never be to win the argument. The goal should always be to protect the relationship. Because if one person wins, but our connection loses, neither of us has actually won. I've never admired people who always have the last word. I've admired people who know when to listen. Listening is one of the purest forms of respect. It tells someone, your heart matters enough for me to slow down and understand it. That's the kind of husband I want to become. Future wife, there will be days when I misunderstand you. There will be moments when you'll misunderstand me. We're human, it will happen. But I hope we never let one misunderstanding become a permanent distance. Ask questions. Don't make assumptions. Tell me, help me understand what you meant. Those simple words have saved relationships that pride would have destroyed, because most conflicts aren't created by bad intentions. They're created by misunderstood intentions. Future wife, there is another promise I need you to hear. Never feel afraid to tell me the truth, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable. If one day you believe I'm changing into someone I promised I'd never become, please tell me. If success begins making me arrogant, challenge me. If work begins stealing too much of my attention, remind me. If I become so focused on building the future that I stop appreciating the present, bring me back. Not because you're criticizing me, because you're protecting us. Love isn't always gentle. Sometimes, love holds. I also hope you'll let me challenge you. Not because I think you're inadequate, because I believe you're capable of more than fear sometimes allows you to believe. If I see you settling for less than your potential, I'll remind you how strong you really are. If I see you doubting yourself, I'll remind you of every mountain you've already climbed. If life convinces you to stop dreaming, I'll quietly remind you of the woman I first admired, because encouragement isn't telling someone what they want to hear. It's reminding them of the greatness they've temporarily forgotten. Future wife, imagine what kind of marriage we could build if every difficult conversation became another brick instead of another crack. Imagine finishing an argument, not wondering who won, but feeling even closer than before. Imagine looking back after 20 years together, realizing that honesty kept us together when appearances could never have done it. That's the relationship I dream about, not one without conflict. One where conflict never becomes more important than connection. Future wife, I've also realized something about forgiveness. People often think forgiveness means forgetting. I don't. Forgiveness means choosing the future over the past. It means saying, what happened hurt me, but I love what we're building more than I love holding on to this pain. That doesn't mean ignoring serious problems. It means refusing to let bitterness become our permanent language. I never want yesterday's mistakes to become tomorrow's identity. If we learn, if we grow, if we genuinely change, then let's move forward together. Not because the past didn't matter, because our future matters more. Future wife, one day, when we're old, I don't think we'll remember every disagreement. I don't think we'll remember every stressful week, but I believe we'll remember how safe we made each other feel. We'll remember whether home felt peaceful. We'll remember whether we could laugh after difficult days. We'll at a time. Future wife, everything I've shared with you until now, purpose, dreams, trust, fear, communication, none of it will matter if we forget one final truth. It's the truth I hope defines our entire future together, because at the end of every dream, beyond every success, after every challenge, there is only one question that truly matters. Will we still keep choosing each other before this message ends? That's the final promise I want to make to you. Future wife, if you've stayed with me this far, then maybe you've already realized something. None of these words have been about finding the perfect relationship. They've been about building one, because love isn't discovered once, then protected automatically. Love is built quietly every single day, and before life ever gives us the chance to meet. There is one promise I want you to carry in your heart. I will never stop choosing you, not just on the day we first fall in love, not just on the day we exchange our vows, not just during the seasons when everything feels beautiful. I mean every ordinary day that follows, because real commitment isn't one unforgettable moment. It's thousands of ordinary decisions that nobody applauds. Future wife, one day, we'll wake up before the alarm. Our hair won't look perfect. Our conversations won't always sound poetic. There will be bills to pay, responsibilities to carry, unexpected problems, long days, exhausting weeks. Some mornings we'll barely have enough energy to finish our coffee before life starts demanding everything from us. And yet, those ordinary mornings will matter more than any romantic vacation, because those are the moments where love quietly proves itself. Anyone can love someone during exciting seasons. The real question is, can we keep choosing each other when life becomes ordinary? I believe we can. Because extraordinary marriages aren't built on extraordinary days. They're built on ordinary days, lived with extreme. I've seen that happen to too many people. They stop asking questions. They stop noticing little changes. They stop laughing together. Eventually, they stop choosing each other, not because they planned to, because they became distracted. I never want that to happen to us. Even after 20 years, I still want to ask how your day was. I still want to know what's making you smile. What's worrying you? What new dream has quietly entered your heart? Because loving someone means staying curious about them. The day we stop being curious, we begin drifting apart. Future wife, there is something I hope we never forget: gratitude. It's easy to appreciate someone at the beginning. Everything feels exciting. Everything feels new. But real love learns to appreciate the familiar. I never want to become so accustomed to your presence that I forget what a gift it is. One day, you might hand me a cup of coffee without saying a word. To the world, it will seem ordinary. To me, it will be another reminder that someone chose to care. One day, I'll probably come home exhausted. Maybe I won't even realize how tired I look. I hope you notice, not because I expect you to solve every problem, but because feeling seen is one of the greatest forms of love. And I promise, I'll notice you too. I'll notice when your smile is hiding exhaustion. I'll notice when you're carrying something heavy in your heart. I'll notice when you say you're fine, but your eyes tell a different story, because I don't want to love only your words. I want to learn your silence too. Future wife, can I confess something? I hope we never become too proud to apologize. Pride has destroyed more relationships than failure ever has. Sometimes, the most courageous words a person can say are, I was wrong. Not because admitting mistakes makes us weaker, because refusing to admit them slowly destroys trust. If I hurt you, I'll apologize, not because I'm trying to end the argument, because your future wife, there will also be seasons of incredible joy, days we'll never forget, dreams finally becoming reality. Perhaps we'll build a home together. Maybe we'll watch our children take their first steps. Maybe we'll sit outside years from now, watching the sunset, laughing about problems that once felt impossible. I don't want success to make us forget where we started. I hope we always remember these conversations, the promises, the fears, the dreams, because remembering where we began protects us from taking each other for granted. Future wife, I've spent so much of my life thinking about the future, building it, imagining it, fighting for it. But do you know something I've slowly realized? The future isn't created by one extraordinary decision. It's created by thousands of ordinary choices: choosing kindness, choosing patience, choosing forgiveness, choosing honesty and choosing respect, choosing each other. Again and again and again. Those choices seem small until 20 years pass. Then suddenly, they've become a lifetime. Future wife, one day, the world might celebrate achievements we've accomplished. People may admire what we've built. They might see success, recognition, influence. But I hope those things are never the greatest achievement of our lives. I hope our greatest achievement is much simpler, that after everything we've experienced, we still look at each other with gratitude, still laugh together, still dream together, still pray together, still believe in each other, still reach for each other's hand without thinking. Because the greatest success isn't becoming admired by millions, it's becoming deeply known by one person and still being completely loved. Future wife, if life ever gives us children, I don't want them to remember expensive gifts. I want them to remember how their parents treated each other. I want them to see respect, gentleness, patience, encouragement. I want them to grow up believing what we tell them. They often become what they repeatedly see. I hope they see a marriage worth believing in. Future wife, as this message slowly reaches its end, there is something I need you to know. Everything I've promised you, I first demand from myself. I don't expect from you what I'm unwilling to give. If I ask for honesty, I'll give honesty. If I ask for loyalty, I'll give loyalty. If I ask for patience, I'll practice patience. If I ask you to believe in my dreams, I'll become the first person believing in yours. That's the only kind of love worth building. Mutual, intentional, faithful, growing future wife. One day, if destiny finally allows us to stand face to face, if our eyes meet, if our hearts recognize something they have been searching for, I hope you'll remember these words, not because they're beautiful, but because they were sincere. Because before I ever asked for your love, I wanted to earn your trust. And before this message comes to its final chapter, there is one last truth I need to leave in your heart. It's the promise I hope you'll remember long after every other word has faded. Because if you remember only one thing from me, I hope it's this. Your wife, if you've listened to every word until this moment, then thank you, not because these words are perfect, but because somewhere inside them, you've been listening to my heart instead of my reputation. And maybe that's exactly where our story should begin. Not with the version of me the world thinks it knows, but with the man speaking to you right now. Because before success, before the headlines, before history remembers anything I've ever built, I hope one person remembers the promises I made before any of it. Future wife, if destiny is real, then maybe while you're hearing these words, you're living a completely different life. Maybe you're drinking coffee before work. Maybe you're studying. Maybe you're chasing your own dream. Maybe you're recovering from heartbreak. Maybe you've already cried. I hope these words find you at exactly the right time, because I don't want to become another beautiful promise that fades away. I want to become the kind of man whose actions continue speaking long after these words are forgotten. Future wife, I don't know your name. I don't know your voice. I don't know the color of your eyes. I don't know what makes you laugh when no one else is around. I don't know what you've survived to become the woman you're becoming today. But somehow, I already respect your journey, because life has a way of shaping extraordinary people through ordinary pain. No one becomes deeply compassionate without first experiencing disappointment. No one becomes patient without waiting. No one becomes resilient without surviving storms. And no one truly understands love without first understanding loneliness. Maybe that's where you are today, learning lessons that don't make sense yet. Trust me, some of the most meaningful chapters of our lives only become understandable after we've lived through them. Future wife, one day, if we're fortunate enough to sit together years from now, I don't think we'll spend much time talking about awards or achievements or how many people knew our names. I think we'll smile about something much simpler: the ordinary evenings, the conversations before bed, the road trips with no destination, the laughter over mistakes that once felt enormous, the mornings we quietly held each other's hand without saying anything, because that's what life really becomes. Not one unforgettable moment, but thousands of ordinary moments that slowly become unforgettable together. That's the future I dream about. Future wife, please promise me something. Never compare our relationship to what the world posts online. People share celebrations. They rarely share sacrifices. They post victories. They rarely show the years of uncertainty that created them. Don't measure our love by someone else's highlight reel. Forge it by our peace. Build a quiet life filled with genuine love than a glamorous life filled with emotional distance. Future wife, if one day we disagree, let's remember we're on the same side. If one day life overwhelms us, let's remember why we started. If one day fear begins whispering that we're growing apart, let's choose another conversation instead of another assumption. If one day success enters our lives, let's welcome it with humility. If one day failure visits our home, let's welcome it with courage. Because neither success nor failure gets to decide who we become. Our choices do, every single day. Future wife, I have one final confession. The world may always know me as someone who wanted to build rockets, electric cars, artificial intelligence, technology that changes the future. But the truth is, none of those things would ever become my greatest creation. If life allows me to love the right woman, to build a marriage filled with trust, to create a home where peace is stronger than pride, to raise children who grow up feeling deeply loved, then that would be the achievement I would protect more than any company I've ever built. Because inventions may change the world, but love changes generations. Future wife, there will come a day when our hair begins turning gray, the energy we once had won't be the same, the world will move faster than we can keep up. People will remember younger versions of us. New names will replace ours. Time always moves forward. But I hope one thing never changes: the way we look at each other. I hope decades from now, you still catch me smiling at you for no reason. I hope I still reach for your hand without thinking. I hope your voice still feels like home after thousands of conversations. I hope your presence still brings peace after the hardest days, because love shouldn't become weaker with time. It should become quieter, stronger, safer, deeper. Future wife, if there are days when I forget how lucky I am, remind me. If there are days when you forget together, not because life will always be easy, but because nothing becomes impossible when two hearts refuse to stop choosing each other. Future wife, before this message ends, there is one last promise I want to leave with you. I can't promise you'll never cry. I can't promise we'll never struggle. I can't promise life will always be fair. I can't promise that every dream will unfold exactly as we imagined. But I can promise this: you'll never have to question whether I'm still trying, because every morning, no matter how successful I become, no matter how complicated life becomes, no matter how many responsibilities the future places on my shoulders, I'll wake up with the same decision: to become a better husband than yesterday, a better listener than yesterday, a better protector than yesterday, a better friend than yesterday, a better man than yesterday. Not because I'm perfect, because you deserve someone who never stops growing. Future wife, if destiny never brings us together, I hope these words still help you recognize the kind of love you deserve. A love that respects your dreams, protects your peace, challenges you with kindness, believes in your potential, stands beside you during uncertainty, and chooses honesty over comfort. Never settle for less than that. But if destiny has already written our names into the same future, if somewhere beyond today, beyond tomorrow, beyond every unanswered prayer, you're waiting, then I want you to remember just one thing. I'm not asking you to choose the man the world admires. I'm asking you to choose the man who will still be there when the applause is gone, the man who will still hold your hand when success fades, the man who will still pray for your happiness when no one else is watching, the man who will still choose you after thousands of ordinary mornings, again and again and again, because real love isn't found in one unforgettable moment. Becoming the man I promised I'd become, and if God, time, and destiny decide that our stories belong together, I won't simply say, I'm happy we met. I'll look into your eyes after all those years, smile quietly, and say, it was worth waiting for you.